Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a mind-bending sci-fi thriller packed with twists, betrayals, and reality-bending powers, awareness. So grab a snack, settle in, and let's unravel this story together from start to finish. In a quiet little town in Spain, Vicente strolls into a grocery store and sneakily stuffs a bunch of bottles under his jacket. Outside, his son Ian is using a special power to create illusions, making the store clerk completely unaware of the theft. Vicente casually makes a small purchase and walks out, while Ian keeps the illusion going as his dad searches for their truck. But just then, a group of girls pass by and tease Ian, calling him a freak. The insult shakes him enough to break his concentration, and the illusion drops. Inside the store, the clerk quickly notices the missing bottles and grabs a hammer to chase after Vicente. Thinking fast, Ian casts another illusion, this time making it look like he's pointing a gun at her. But the clerk isn't fazed, and in a panic, Ian accidentally shoots her. As she falls, a flood of her memories flashes through Ian's eyes, and nearby police sirens start wailing. Vicente rushes over, throws Ian into the truck, and speeds off. Oddly, when a cop checks on the woman, her injury has vanished. The police begin chasing them down the road, so Ian adjusts the rearview mirror and uses it to reflect an illusion back at the cops, tricking them into thinking they're on a completely different road. Vicente scolds Ian for using his power like that, but Ian argues they could be living rich lives instead of hiding. Vicente sternly refuses, warning it would draw dangerous attention. But when Ian asks who exactly they should be afraid of, Vicente stays quiet. Once they reach the beach, Ian casts a massive illusion, making the pursuing officer believe he's driving through a violent hailstorm. The cop watches his windshield get destroyed and even loses control, flipping his car all the way to a nearby gas station. But when he gets out, he realizes everything's perfectly fine. This strange event gets caught on security cameras and eventually lands in the hands of a mysterious woman named Dr. Adriana. By the next morning, Ian and Vicente are back on their secret hideout, an abandoned ship where they've been living. Ian dreams of his mother singing to him as a baby, but her lullaby turns into a scream that jolts him awake. Trying to lift the mood, Vicente makes a special birthday breakfast and shows Ian a photo of his mom taken the day his powers first appeared. Ian wants to celebrate like a regular teenager and go to the arcade, but Vicente puts his foot down and forbids it. Angry and frustrated, Ian takes it out on his training dummy in his room, and after blowing off some steam, he sneaks out the window. Elsewhere, the police officer from the hail incident tells his story to a bartender, not realizing that a perceiver overhears him and uses his power to knock him out cold. Later that evening, a tactical team surrounds the ship, while Vicente is distracted watching TV. Adriana enters, revealing herself to be with an agency, and greets Vicente like an old friend. She's clearly after Ian, and when Vicente doesn't cooperate, they rough him up until agents report that they've found the boy. Meanwhile, Ian is at the arcade, completely unaware. The perceiver and two agents also arrive, searching for him. The perceiver takes down one of the agents behind a curtain and uses his radio with a fake voice to alert Adriana, pretending there's another perceiver in the area. Adriana immediately shifts her team's focus to that. While Ian hides under a table, the second agent opens fire, but it turns out it's just another illusion. The real perceiver sneaks up behind the agent and prepares to trick Ian. But before he can do anything, another agent slaps a helmet on him that blocks his powers. He shoves the agent away, and the two fight in a dark room. The perceiver throws the agent through a wall, only to be surrounded by even more operatives. But he fights them all off like it's nothing, completely ignoring the virtual reality players around him. Once all the agents are down, the perceiver removes the helmet and resumes looking for Ian. Meanwhile, Ian is approached by Esther and another agent, who lead him outside to a waiting van. Inside is Adriana, who says there are others like him, and to prove it, she shows that they've captured Vicente. Ian agrees to go along, But as soon as he gets in the van, they tie him up, strap a helmet onto his head, and draw blood. By the time the perceiver exits the arcade, the van has vanished. He rushes down the street and conjures an illusion of a baby stroller, making a truck slam on its brakes and crash. The van driver thinks about stopping, but Adriana insists they keep going, revealing the crash was an illusion too. Later, Ian wakes up inside the agency's facility. Adriana begins explaining everything. The agency is fighting a secret war against a group called the Conscience, people with the same powers as Ian who've been manipulating governments for years. According to her, it doesn't matter who wins elections. The Conscience keeps the world under their control. She warns that the perceiver will either recruit Ian or kill him. So she asks Ian to join her side instead. Adriana also wants the formula in Ian's blood, which could help block the enemy's powers. She asks what kinds of illusions he can create. People, maybe? Ian says he's tried, but it doesn't work. Adriana insists otherwise and gives him a difficult test. Ian struggles until she shows him a photo of his mother and talks about his tragic childhood. Emotional and vulnerable, Ian suddenly projects the beach she's asking for, and even an annoying fly buzzing around. Next, she asks him to bring her back to reality, but leave the fly behind as a loop, a kind of permanent illusion. Ian ends the illusion entirely and demands to see his dad. Adriana takes him to Vicente, who warns Ian not to trust the agency. But Adriana encourages Ian to use his second power, to look into Vicente's memories and find the truth. Ian dives into Vicente's mind and sees him working with the agency. When chaos breaks out after an alarm, Vicente takes baby Ian and escapes, fighting off guards along the way. Adriana tried to stop him, but failed. Back in the present, Vicente collapses, and Ian is heartbroken to realize he's not his real father. Adriana confirms it and adds that his mother might still be alive. Later, she shows blood test results to a man called the American, who asks how Ian got his powers. Adriana explains he was born with them, something they thought impossible, as perceivers were believed to be sterile. Ian is the first child naturally born with these abilities. The American orders her to extract the formula and eliminate Ian, but Adriana refuses. She believes Ian could unlock a powerful third ability, their only hope against someone known as the Mule. The American insists the Mule is just a myth. Soon, a doctor reviews Ian's test results and smirks. His neuron factor is a staggering 204%. Meanwhile, Esther visits Ian and tells him he's just a lab rat to the agency. She offers him a way out. They sneak downstairs but are immediately confronted by guards. Esther springs into action, expertly taking them down with a baton and a taser. Within minutes, all the agents are unconscious, and she and Ian escape. Ian wants to bring Vicente too, believing his memories hold the answers. They carry Vicente out and search for a car, but Adriana quickly discovers the escape and sounds the alarm. Agents pour outside and open fire. Ian drives as fast as he can, yelling at Vicente for lying to him. Back in the lab, the doctor from earlier grabs a gun, shoots the team, and checks the cameras, revealing he was the perceiver in disguise all along. As the chase continues, Ian uses his powers to make the guards shoot at illusions. On a winding mountain road, his wild driving sends the car crashing off the road. Moments later, the perceiver arrives, but Ian uses an illusion to make the scene invisible. The perceiver grins and walks away. The trio hides in a motel. The next morning, Ian and Esther enjoy a quiet moment on the roof before returning to find Vicente passed out drunk. Ian still wants answers, so he dives into Vicente's mind again. In this memory, Adriana is holding a file labeled Kaminsky and talking about transferring him to Poland. Outside, a van waits. The driver is missing 3 fingers, which shocks Ian so much that he loses the connection. Later, Ian goes to a bank and hands the clerk a scrap of paper, making her see it as a real check through illusion. He gets the cash and meets up with Esther just in time to escape as the clerk realizes the truth. Back at the motel, Esther plays with the money, tossing it in the air before hopping into the shower. But Ian's worried. Vicente is gone. Suddenly, someone parks outside. Ian warns Esther to hide and sets up an illusion. When the perceiver enters, he sees an empty room, but then finds a mirror and reveals the truth, as illusions don't work on reflections. A fight breaks out between Ian and the perceiver, illusions flying everywhere. Ian tries to tase him and even throws a chair, but nothing works. Eventually, the perceiver pins Ian and looks into his memories, discovering Ian's plan to find the lab in Poland. Ian passes out from the strain. When he wakes up, Vicente scolds him for the mess the bank robbery has caused. Ian fights back, calling him Vicente instead of Dad. Vicente tells Ian he has two choices: stay on this dark path or leave with him. Ian chooses Poland. Meanwhile, Adriana and the American trace the stolen cash and realize Ian has bought train tickets. After arriving in Poland, Ian and Esther start searching for the lab. Agents are waiting nearby, but the perceiver eliminates them all with ease. The lab looks abandoned, but Ian recognizes the room from his dreams and senses something is off. He taps on the walls until he hears a hollow sound. Smashing through, he uncovers a hidden room full of documents. One notebook is titled Project Awareness and holds a photo of his mother. The note on the back reveals that the scientist behind it all is Ian's grandfather, who used his own daughter in the experiments. Meanwhile, Vicente returns to the ship and is confronted by Adriana, who tells him to stop drinking and step up as a father. Back in Poland, Ian finds out Esther has brought the perceiver with her. She claims it's to help Ian get the answers he needs. But Ian isn't buying it. He pulls a gun, though the perceiver sees through the illusion. Soon, Ian fills the room with copies of himself. The perceiver demands to know which one is real. Esther points at the real Ian, and the perceiver corners him, revealing something shocking. He's Ian's biological father. He explains that during the Cold War, a formula was created and tested on volunteers, including Ian's mother and himself. This gave them powers and turned them into psychic spies. But after the war, the government feared they'd become a threat and started eliminating them. Just as things seemed hopeless, the mule appeared, the most powerful perceiver who could control minds. He saved the others and formed the conscience. He was believed to be sterile, like all perceivers, but Ian's parents hadn't used protection, yet his mother miraculously got pregnant. Ian is the first perceiver born naturally. Suddenly, agents storm the building. The perceiver tells Esther to take Ian to his house in Madrid. As they flee, the perceiver stays behind to fight. He shoots several agents and uses illusions of spiders to confuse the rest, but two sneak up and capture him with a power-blocking helmet. Esther and Ian run into agents too, but Esther skillfully defeats them. They make it to the roof, and Esther nails a daring jump. Ian hesitates, but quickly follows through a chute. Later, the perceiver is strapped to a machine in a lab. A robot draws his blood while the agency tortures him. The American tells Adriana to stop before they kill him, but she pushes forward until the perceiver's suffering becomes too much to ignore. Unfortunately, his blood has too little of the formula to be useful. Now, Ian is their only hope. When the perceiver recovers, he asks for water. The robot brings it, and through its camera, he uses the third power to control a technician, making him activate the robot's weapons and slaughter everyone in the room. Then he makes the technician set him free. In Madrid, Ian and Esther arrive at the perceiver's home. The housekeeper is shocked and reveals that Ian's mother is alive, though catatonic from all the experiments. Ian gently approaches her as the perceiver arrives and explains that a small piece of her mind is still active. Ian enters her memories and sees her again. The perceiver joins them, revealing the terrible torture she endured. Before she was captured, she hid the formula inside Ian's mind, represented by his childhood toys. The perceiver tries to grab them, but an invisible wall stops him. His mother doesn't want the formula shared. His attempts to break through cause her great pain, forcing them out of her mind. Ian sings her childhood song to comfort her, and she passes away. Just then, agency agents storm the house. Overwhelmed by grief, Ian finally unlocks the third power, controlling the agents and making them knock each other out. Then he gets darker, forcing them to shoot each other while smiling at the chaos. Esther begs him to stop, but he's gone too far. The agents retreat outside to join Adriana. Ian follows and forces them to kneel, guns pointed at their own heads. Vicente appears, urging Ian not to let the perceiver manipulate him. The perceiver coldly tosses Ian a gun, daring him to kill Vicente. Ian only wants revenge, but Vicente yells that fatherhood means raising a child, not just creating one. The perceiver responds by shooting Vicente. Ian loses his grip on the illusion and runs to his side. Vicente, knowing he's dying, begs Ian to enter his mind. Inside, Ian sees that his mother asked Vicente to save him. The memory ends with the two fishing, and Ian calls him Dad once more before Vicente passes away. Ian, now full of purpose, grabs a gun and heads after the perceiver. He finds him at a party and hears Esther calling for help. Using his powers, Ian clears the room and finds the perceiver holding her at gunpoint. A fierce mental battle begins over control of the gun. Ian still struggles, and the perceiver forces his hand back. Then he manipulates the crowd to attack Ian. Desperately, Ian defends himself and finally taps deeper into his power, fighting off his enemies and smashing bottles to protect himself. One final attacker nearly strangles him until Adriana arrives and shoots the man. Ian begs her to spare Esther, but Adriana says she isn't there. It was a loop, an illusion the perceiver implanted in Ian's mind at the arcade. Ian, betrayed once again, starts to break down. Ian cries as he feels betrayed again, but Esther says her feelings for him were always real, even if she was created from a memory. She tells him she was meant to guide and protect him, not deceive him, and gently encourages him to keep moving forward. Ian takes a deep breath and lets go of the illusion, allowing her to fade away with a smile. Outside, Adriana watches silently as Ian exits the building, exhausted, but changed forever. She tries to talk to him, but Ian ignores her and walks off into the night, finally free from the lies and manipulations that have haunted his life. In the final moments, Ian stands alone on a rooftop overlooking the city, thinking about everyone he's lost: his mother, Vicente, even Esther. But he's no longer running. He's finally aware of who he is, and he knows what he's capable of. As dawn breaks, Ian disappears into the rising sun, ready to choose his own path and to fight for a better future.